So with the theory out of the way, join kind is a lot clearer now, I guess. The default selection was the left outer join. This means we simply take the structure of the codes country region table and then check whether we can find this information in the right query. So this is the regions full names query, which, as we clean the data, is the case. Therefore, the selection matches all our tables. One important note though here. If I would change it now to a right outer join, you can see that the selection matches 7 of 7 rows from the second table. This does not mean that we will only get 7 results in the end. Still, the order of our queries here matters. This means we will always add information from the second query, so from the right query here, to our top, the left query. So the direction of adding data is always bottom from top here. This join kind only defines how the data should be matched. It does not affect the way both tables add information to each other. By the way, in our case, we can also select a full outer join, for example. Here you would see that both matches vice versa, so left and right join are successful. If you do an inner join, you would get the same results. If you would do an anti-join, you would see that the selection excludes all our rows. This means the anti-join would result in an empty table in the end, as all our region codes can be matched here. Therefore, we are pretty free on what we choose right here. We could, for example, choose the inner join here. Fuzzy matching is something I don't want to dive deeper here at this stage. We'll cover that later. So let's press OK here. And now we see that a new column was added to our codes country region query. This new column now has a name, a default name, which is the same one as the query where the data was retrieved from. And if we now click onto the symbol, you can expand the information. By default, all columns are selected, but we actually only need the region name because the region code is already here in our codes country region query. Therefore, we unselect the code and we can decide whether we want to use the original column name as prefix, be this name. We don't want that. We only want to have the region name here. So let's untick this box and press OK. And now we successfully performed our first merge. You can see that now we have the corresponding region names for our region codes. And very important, this didn't affect the initial query, of course, because this is still unchanged. So we are just retrieving data from this other query. If I would try to delete this query now, like this, you see it doesn't work because, again, this is a reference to another query. And you remember we talked about query references and query duplicates already. So this table now refers to this one and retrieves the information. Now we have to perform a second merge though, because this region name now should also be added to our dim region query. For this, we can again follow the same approach. We can go to the home ribbon and now we can actually press the enter button here because this will perform the merge into the currently selected query. Here, we now have to select the codes country region query. And here the country ID column, so in our dim region table, and the same column should now also be selected in the right query. Here the column has 2 flaws though. The first flaw is that it's not named correctly, so we have country ID here and here ID, and there is another problem. Because if we click onto this column now, it takes a few seconds, that's normal. We see that we have to select the columns of the same type. And here we have a problem, because in the dim region table, country ID is a number, a whole number, I think. Here it's formatted as text. Therefore, let's cancel this operation. And let's now go back to the codes country region query. And now change the format from the text to the whole number. With this, we should be able to perform the merge. And by the way, we also now have an empty row here. So let's quickly undo this step, by the way. And let's check the filter and see if we unselect all and scroll down and select the null. Let's see. Yeah, we have the null values again in here. These were the null values we actually filtered out at this stage. But when we expanded our columns as part of the merge, Power BI scanned through our entire column, including the filtered ones. And here it could find region names for OC and AS, so Oceania and Asia. But for the ID, this of course was not the case. Therefore, as the filtering logic didn't kick in anymore, well, this data was again available. So we have to make sure that these are filtered out again. So let's again select all information here and let's just filter for the nulls like this. Now the filter is active again, and now we should be able to change the format successfully without having any empty rows. Yes. So that's why I added this filter earlier, because I wanted to show you that if you add the filter and then perform the merge feature, then this can cause problems like this. So make sure to double check your data. That's generally important in this project and also in your own projects. Always make sure to check this bar up here if your information is all right. Now, with that little side note, let's go back to the DIM region table here, and let's go to merge queries once again. Let's now select the country ID. Here, select our codes country region query. And now select the ID column. This can take up to a minute at this stage, by the way. I'm aware that this is not very convenient, but we will improve that a lot. Once we leave the query editor in the next module, then these loading times will be gone entirely. I mentioned that, but I just want to make sure that you are aware of this fact. It's an issue that will be tackled soon. Now it's done, and we kind of were successful. We could match 193 of 199 rows from the first table. This is a left outer join again, which is alright, because I want to make sure that we include all our country IDs that we have in that DIM region query here. But actually, I first want to make sure which information is causing trouble here, so which IDs could not be allocated. Therefore, I'll change this from the left outer join to a left anti-join. And this will help us to see which country IDs cannot be matched. Therefore, let's now select the left anti-join. That's, by the way, the longest waiting times you will experience in this project. So again, sorry for this, but cannot be avoided at this point of the course. It's finally done, and we exclude almost all our rows. So with OK, we now should get a short list of some countries that could not be allocated. And now we see what's causing the problem here. One problem, by the way, here is that we have Oceania in our country list. That's pretty interesting. We should filter this out, but let's focus onto that a bit later. But generally, we can see that we have country IDs in our DIM region table, which are not available in our codes country region table here. And this should be tackled, I guess. So let's find out how we can solve this problem in the next lecture.